Okay, as you can see, your ultimate goal of your speech, which is called persuasive speech, is supposed to be a tool for you to know whether you're able to change your audience attitudes, beliefs, or actions. So one of these three, yeah, you can use this as a measurement. What you want to do? Do you want to change the attitude of the audience, or do you want to change their belief or perception of certain ideas, or their actions, which you think, oh, the action is not really good at this moment, and maybe I want to give them a different way to change, to make it better, the way they approach things. So one of the things about persuasive speech is sometimes it can be sensitive, when you want to change people's opinion, people's idea. So that's why this persuasive speech is a way to overcome any kinds of problem or arguments. So your triumph of persuasion over force is a sign of civilized society. So it's better to talk and convince them instead of going to war. You know what I mean? But this is what's happening now in the world. Sometimes people are not convinced on other people's idea, other people's concern. So most of the wars that happen is because of selfish needs, and these people are not able to convince the other party what is the real reason. So in terms of your speech, you can use your speech by answering three questions. You can look at the questions of fact, questions of value, or questions of policy. Okay, three questions. Answer these three questions. So if you are able to answer one of these and you're able to have clarity on that, you can use this to give this persuasive speech. So for example, when it comes to questions of facts, is Marcus Aurelius says, everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth. So think about it. Whatever that you are listening, when you are listening to me, it is merely an opinion, maybe an opinion, unless I have some evidence to support, right? So it's not a fact. So everything you hear, it doesn't sound as if it's a fact. It's like opinion. Everything we see is a perspective and not the truth. So do you agree with this saying by Marcus Aurelius? Yes. So whatever that you see online, do you think is the truth? It's just a perspective. And sometimes because of that, it goes viral, and people start judging already, people make decisions already. So that's the thing that we need to change this kind of idea. So make sure you present, because the saying goes, there are two sides of a coin. So in terms of fact, and even in the fact, people can twist the facts. Look at these two examples. Yeah? Like, for example, when you say you're racist, look at these two opinions. Racial profiling continues to be a prevalent and egregious form of discrimination in the United States. And he's saying it's very egregious, it's a very serious crime in US where they have become racist. Racial profiling, that means what is racial profiling is you associate one particular race to something bad. And for example, associate one particular race to become a drunkard, or this particular race is always in that particular, involved in gangs and so on. So when you are labeling that, this is called racial profiling. So it's a discrimination, and it continues in America, according to that research. But another researcher from Heather McDonald says, it is not so, because when you go deep down in that field, she has found that people are not racist. They are not profiling race according to this, because she has even interviewed among the criminologists who studied crime. It's not so, because it tends to be just like fake news. It's a narrative that people carry on. So if you look at the two different points of view, so which one would you take it as a fact? Even this, people get confused. So you must present a fact, and when you need to make sure people believe it. right? So just because it comes out in a journal, comes out in news, do you think you can really believe it? And for example, and talk about factual, the facts about virus, the COVID-19 virus. What are the facts? Do you really believe whatever that you hear, that you read from the World Health Organization? Hello? So this is something that you all must think, because you are going to be future leaders, right? So you don't just accept everything that you read, oh, this is what it's supposed to be. Right? Just because it's an organization, it's a government, it gives you all truth or all evidence-based. Sometimes they do it because of certain needs, certain kind of fulfilling their own selfish needs. Okay, that's why, as this is the case now, so what are you going to do? So you must make sure that your speech contains sufficient evidence to back up your idea, your point. So when you are interpreting the evidence, the people know it makes sense. So one of the ways for you to overcome it, you present both sides of the facts. Some, just not like a racial profiling, but one person says this, another person says that. So what do the general population say? So maybe you can do a survey. You can really verify this, or this is not true. Even in Malaysia, people say, oh, certain groups are not good, certain groups are, this particular party is not good. So what do the people, common people say about it? So you can do that kind of verifying. You can verify. With that verification, your speech will build your credibility in terms of facts. Right? Facts. Okay, so regardless of whatever party you support, what is the main goal of your speech? That's the main thing. Why you're giving this kind of facts? Maybe your goal is to make sure that people will believe the truth. People will go by the truth and not be moved by certain kinds of selfish needs, selfish interests for that matter. Okay, that is about question about fact. So please answer that and look at your topic. Is it answering question about facts? Next is about value. All of you are value things, right? You all value certain things in life. And one of the things that you value is the experience you go through. Do you all value now? Sometimes value, especially a bitter experience. Have you all gone through any bitter experience in life before? Hello? Yes or no?
Excuse me, sir, what?
Have you all had any bitter experiences in the past?
Oh, I believe everyone has, sir.
Everyone has gone through that. So we cannot say we all are happy and dandy all the time, right? Because being humans, we all go through certain kinds of issues in our lives. So that's why your experiences will teach us something that's fundamental in terms of value, especially when you have gone through some suffering in the past. You know about certain values in terms of whether it's right or wrong. And for example, you experience telling a lie, and you know that one of the things that you happened is you have created of somebody becoming an enemy, a friend become an enemy, or misunderstanding happened. So you can see that this experience that gives you the value. What is life all about? And it also gives you value about how much money is valuable. How much do you value this money? And sometimes we assume that students nowadays do not value money as much as the older folks. I do not, but you, do you value now? For example, do you value that your parents have to pay for the electric bill? Do you save the current by switching off the aircon or the fan when after you use it? Or you just don't bother? So you need to value, because your parents have come through some life in the past. Maybe they know, oh, we must save some money. So these are the value that we learn from bitter experiences. So these experiences will give you some idea about how to appreciate things, about moral, about wisdom and desirability. So one of the things about value is because you think eating meat is not good, so you become a vegan. Not vegan. nowadays many people have propagated the idea of eating meat is not right, and this especially among the vegans. Vegans are people who totally eat only vegetables. Okay, so let's say they have this value, and the values they say they cannot harm any animals or living beings. They cannot even eat eggs because it comes from a live or chicken. You see, so they become fully vegetarians. So when they see people eating meat, they feel it is immoral. It's not something that it should happen. And so they apply this philosophy of utilitarianism or animal rights. So they propagate this kind of value. So do you think it's right? So the value, for example, recently in America, they had this case, Roe versus Wade, where they said that abortion should be banned. Abortion is banned in America. Cannot have abortion. So that is a value because they value life. Life is important. You cannot just take up life even during pregnancy, even the first trimester, because you are killing a life. You understand what I mean? So this value, so that is in terms of life, for that matter. Now, we also value based on money that we spend, about quality of products. When you go and buy products, for example, handphones, how do you buy handphones? You see the value of the product. So now I'm going to give an example based on cars. Let's say you are going to buy cars. You will compare, before you buy the car, you need to compare. Let's say you have two choices. One is Honda CR-V, another one is Proton X70, let's say. So you need to compare the value for money, isn't it? You're going to pay. So so how do you compare this? Based on this document that you have in the magazines, you have the car magazine or any catalogs to compare the benefits of using this car, what is the price range, and so on. So based on this fulfilling of the value that you have, or I want a car which is comfortable and cheap, in the sense that I can afford it. So based on that, you're able to get a car which is suiting your value. Any questions so far? So far?
No, sir.
Okay, so for this value, you need to fulfill certain criteria. So you already have criteria. So if you fulfill this criteria, then you can buy this car. So do you all do this when you're buying certain products, for example, clothing, or even buy handphones? Do you put criteria, you value that first before buying it, or you just buy it because it's advertised there, And sometimes impulsive shopping happens. Even when you're buying computer, do you see the RAM? How big is it? So do you do that study? Do you do some research before buying? So based on that, then you can get that product. But sometimes it can be subjective, especially when it comes to life. Just now we're talking about life. What happens? What happens if your loved one is in a vegetative coma? What would you do? He or she is on the bed. Do you think you will pull the plugs, or you will let the person just be like that? Anybody want to respond? Let's say one of the loved ones is in vegetative coma. What do you think we should do? So this is yes, are you ready?
I think to answer that question, right? Since I do have a similar experience to your question,
Mm.
Pretty much there's nothing you can do but wait and see, sir.
Just wait and see.
Uh,
So the question is, how long would you be waiting? Would you wait and see? So that would be a question, right? So it is very difficult to answer that kind of question. Is that how long can I wait? You want to see the light at the end of the tunnel. You want to see something, hope. But this is what happened. It's a real life case where this person, where the wife was in coma for 15 years. 15 years. And but of course she was was sustained by a machine, no? Machine to make sure that she is fed with the tubes, because she cannot eat, you see, all fed with the tubes. So the husband was in the beginning, it was like very hopeful she will recover, she'll be healed, and that's what people always believe. All of us as humans want to have that hope that she'll be healed. But this case was, she was going to work and she just fell down on the staircase, and after that she collapsed and hit her head, and she is in coma. Her name is Terry Xiao. So maybe you can Google and find out what happened. So it was a 15-year case, and the husband decided on the 15th year, I think I will just pull the plug. So let my wife go in peace. And why he did that? For some people, in terms of value, you are taking a life away, right? But for the husband, he said, better her not to suffer. We do not know the pain the person is going through. And you all know, we do not know yet, because once you're in a vegetable coma, maybe the person is going through pain but cannot speak it up. And because the brain is not really functioning or what. So this is what happens, right? This is what happens. So it is kind of ambivalent, whether we go this way or that way. And as long as you feel this is the right thing to do. And that's what the husband felt. And he has to go against the daughter's parents. And he went even to the president to get the permission to take up the plugs, to pull the plugs, even though it's his wife. So you can read about it. So this is called question of value. So we are talking about value. How do we value things? How would you value people? And so even though they're just a heartbeat, but still we have hope that they will one day wake up. So that is the thing that we still hold on to. So I'm not saying to pull the plugs or anything, but this is the question that only the family members can decide. Okay, so we cannot say, oh, you're wrong or right, because they have the right, because they are the one going to live with it, right? So it is something that is very subjective. So in terms of persuading the question of value of life, maybe you can persuade for us, the audience, to think about this. Think about what is important in life. Okay. So that is the one thing you can think about. Okay, then enough of being emotional there. Let's go to the next part, which is questions of policy. Okay, so this question of policy would be very appropriate for your speech, because it is very interesting. You can look at it in an interesting manner, because this question of policy will try to advocate your point, and maybe you want to do something to take action against certain ideas. So the question of policy normally is in terms of country, in policy making, like the government does this in the parliament. So they debate, so they persuade in the parliament to prove certain bills to be passed. So you can use this idea of how do you want to persuade? What do you want to do? You want, at the end of this question of policy, is changing certain mindset, changing a policy. So for this question of policy, you can have, persuading is what happened now. It's not going that, okay. So here, two types of speeches on question or policy that you can make. And so at the end, you can do it in a passive agreement or immediate action. You want immediate action. So just now I told you in this persuasive speech, you should focus on action, whether it can be a passive or immediate. Okay, passive meaning to say that they agree with you. They agree with you. You can see that you have convinced them with all the facts, so they know. I think I better change my idea, my perception. So maybe you are changing the perspective, or you can immediate action by supporting certain kind of email. Maybe you want to ask them to come attend a certain campaign that you're doing. So that's immediate action. So it depends on your topic as well. So this passive agreement, you just persuade the audience. For example, that capital punishment is unethical. And you say you're giving your speech, you're talking about this capital punishment. Capital punishment is where you're taking one's life legally and because of the crime they have committed. So you're saying that it is unethical, okay, for a criminal, even though he can be a murderer or terrorist, you say you cannot do that. So it's unethical. Or to persuade my audience that there should be a stricter safety standard on amusement park rides, or stricter safety standards at LRT stations or even commuter stations, because we have heard of accidents that happen when they're crossing the rail lines. And so what do you want to change? This is a passive agreement. So you're just suggesting this, that people will listen. People will try to be influenced by what you're saying. But a better one would be immediate action. Try to think of immediate action as well. Persuade audience to donate blood. Okay, because they can do it immediately. So maybe you can say, oh, if you are interested to donate blood, please come to this place at 3 p.m. tomorrow evening or tomorrow afternoon, that we will be, the doctors and the nurses will come from this particular hospital. So you can use that as a call for action. Okay, so that is immediate action. Okay, so are you all getting the picture? So you can passive or immediate action. That are the goals of your speech. So another example would be like recycling. Maybe you want the government or even the DBKK in Kota Kinabalu to ban single-use plastic bags or grocery bags. You want to persuade people to use reusable bags. Okay, so in terms of reusable bags, if you have done this during the teaching time, maybe you can use this kind of idea, and you can expand the idea. So why? In this case, you can say, what is the problem about using bags? Then you give detailed evidence, and you give a suggestion, or we need to persuade people to start using reusable bags. So this one can also be passive or immediate. So immediate action, you need to say at the end of your speech, you say, we are giving away reusable bags for you to take. So if you're interested, please take now. So that is an action. So those people who are really convinced, they will take the bag and go and use it, right? All okay? Okay, so far so good, right? Can you give thumbs up or what? You can follow it, following me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
So what are you going to do now? So you're going to do is identify the issue or the problem first. And you must convince, you must see what is the problem and try to prove that your problem is significant. It's very significant. It's very relevant. So this speech is not only focused on whatever I'm saying. It can also link to your tourism. Tourism. All of you are from tourism, right? So you can look at things. Is there anything that I want to persuade something? It needs attention. It needs immediate attention. So that is something that you can highlight. Even in your costs, for example, tourism costs, you're persuading us to take something, to make something different. So maybe you're comparing with other universities and you say our university is doing this and we should persuade the organization to do something else. You understand what I mean? So this is one thing about changing the policy. Okay, so identify the problem. What is the problem that you are looking at now? So hopefully all of you don't look at the same problem. So think of different problems. All of you have different experiences. And so look at their own issue and how people behave towards the problem. And like one of the issues you can look at is this rubbish in Sabah, in the coastal lands. Have you, those who are in Sabah, you can see that the other day in the pitching, somebody was looking at that rubbish as well and telling about the rubbish, that we know that this rubbish problem is something that we need to solve. And maybe you can look at that. And where does this happen? Which areas does this happen? A lot of rubbish, especially plastic bottles, all these things that are thrown around this area by the coastal, and like what's happening in the Likas area, So you can see the specific areas. Why are there like that? So you can find issues linked to it. Based on the issues, problem issues, then you can give us a suggestion. What can you do? What can you do? So that is one of the ways you can persuade. So in that case, your audience will be not the students. Your audience will be the government officers, even the chief minister of Sabah, to do something, implement something. So this is where it's all depends. So in your speech, I don't want you to say my name is so and so. I'm from UITM. Don't use that way. So imagine that you are going to persuade. And of course, you can tell your name, but don't say I'm a student. You know what I mean? Because your speech can be niche to your own experiences, or you want to influence others on a different area. So for that, you need to have credibility. If you're just a student, sometimes that it doesn't add the credibility to you, So maybe you can associate as you have experience in doing this. So with that credibility, I can talk about this issue. You know what I mean? Hello? So please understand. So I'm not saying you cannot say you're a student, because when you say you're a student, that you are yourself making this your speech not credible. So don't begin that way, but try to attract the attention of the audience. So if your speech is very good, I will upload on YouTube, and so it'll be good. So make sure you do the best. So what to do now? Decide who, what, and who are you talking to, and look at the final goal of your speech. Okay, so look at the problem. So just now I was checking the outline. Some of your outline is very general. So try to focus a bit, because your idea of persuasive speech is to influence. And you want to reinforce the audience thoughts and behaviors. And so you want to influence. How do you influence the thoughts and behaviors? Can you influence your siblings' thoughts and behaviors in the first place? Can you not? Can you? And if you have the ability, then you are good in persuasion skill. If you don't have the ability, so you must know how. It's not a difficult thing to do. You need to know what is in common that you share with a person, right? Then you can that is where you are able to have connection. One of the things that you are able to do is setting something that's in common, that the audience and you share. For example, you talk about rubbish. I'm sure all of us know about rubbish. Then you need to present yourself as if you are really serious about persuading your audience. So let's say I am as a parent, I can talk if my audience, if I want to talk to the audience as parents. So I say I have 2 children, and one of my biggest concern is making sure that they are safe. Okay, so as a parent, so when I'm talking to the parents, and the parents will have that similar kind of concern, isn't it? They want to make sure the children are safe. So that is how you highlight what is common. Then your appearance. Okay, so this is where you need to make sure all of you are presenting. Be formal. Be formal. At least wear a batik shirt if you're a gentleman, or baju kurung, or anything that is formal. It's good to wear a blazer, or even a tie for the gentleman, or blazer for the ladies, to show that you are serious about this speech. It is not just for this assessment that you are doing it. You are doing it so that you want to really influence. You want to make a difference. So this is what we call ethos. Ethos. So make sure you dress appropriately for the occasion. You are demonstrating that you make good moral choices with regard to the relationship with the audience. So that means when you are dressed shabbily, you're showing that you're not concerned. You're talking about rubbish, but you yourself look like rubbish when you're wearing shabby clothes. So you need to make sure you live up to what you're saying, right? People say talk is cheap. When you talk but you don't do, that is really you are not. People will not believe you. So in the persuasive speech, we also look at logic, right? Logical things. When one is ethos, the ethics about giving the speech, and whether it's ethical, the way you dress, the words that you use. Then look at next is a logical mindset. Are you using the speech in a logical way and trying to convince this audience using a logical argument? For example, you are citing scientific data, the method that you're using that is research-based, so that people will be able to know that you have certain credibility based on that. Because when you use this kind of data, people, we are using this attempt using logos. This is what Aristotle says, ethos, logos. So we are able to convince the audience that you are using something that is very reasonable in terms of precise details that you give that are logical and reasoning. So this is called logos. First ethos, next logos is logic. And the next part is the most interesting part, because this one you can really attract many people. This is called Pathos. Okay, let me show you an example here. Oh, it's not playing. Okay, this is supposed to be a video.
This adorable dog is named Owner had us to get help. You are looking big fluffy hero when you see how seizure. I remember surveillance trends. One PM, she in the name of the to a halt. The driver
The dog Clover to block the truck.
He's very loyal.
we asked veterinarian Dr. Jeff Wood.
Has such a major role in this. They obviously have learned that they
Thankful.
So this is what we call pathos. You are using emotions, and it shows that how a loving dog, a caring dog, was able to save the owner's life. So in your case, you can use emotions, and so when you're using emotions, people will be easily attracted to it. And emotion can be in the form of prejudices that happens in among humans. And it means that tapping into audience emotions can be a vital to persuading them to accept your idea. So you can use the illustration verbally or non-verbally, like even visually. Just now I showed the video. So this could tell a compelling story, a story that people will really be attracted to. So much so that this whatever things that's happened in your speech, people are able to imagine and feel what you are feeling. So even though when you're saying it, the way you say it, with the expressions, with the power of your words, with let's say it's a sad thing, so you show that you as a sad kind of tone that you use, and the demeanor shows that you're feeling sad. So that all plays a part. So that's why it is very important. And this is what the politicians use. And politicians, they gain a lot of votes because they use pathos. They try to get people's emotions, and something that worked up in the emotions. And that is why sometimes you see during the election, even though you don't like this person in the beginning, but after the speeches that they give is very emotional charged, people are so convinced they support that person. So failing to realize it is just a one-time thing. So always have this idea that you want to persuade, and persuade is power. So it's to convert, to compel, to bring another one out of his bad sense into your good sense. That is what Ralph Waldo Emerson has said. So for your speech is called persuasive speech, which will be following Monroe's motivated sequence. It was created by a psychologist called Alan Monroe. And these are the things you need to use to organize your speech, the labels that you use: attention, need, satisfaction, visualization, and action. It sounds like a foreign word, but it's very simple like other persuasive speeches. The only thing is the words for persuasive speech is talking about problem, solution, and benefits. Okay, maybe you can use that in replacement to need is the problem, satisfaction is the solution, and visualization as the benefit. What are the benefits you get from this? And the action will be, what do you want your audience to do? If you have these ideas, then you're able to plan your speech well. So I give you an example now. So let's say you want to change on bill, especially when it comes to people rent apartments, renting apartment, and you want to change the rights bill. So in terms of attention, okay, can somebody read this? So maybe you want to say this out. Anybody want to read this script?
If there's no one, I'll volunteer, sir.
Yes, sure.
Have you ever had cockroaches running through the cupboards in your apartment? Have you shivered in the cold because the furnace was broken? Or waited months for the security deposit you never got back, even though you left your apartment as clean as when you moved in?
Okay. So this is a a question, right? It's the attention part is you're asking so many questions. So when you ask the kind of questions, what do you think the audience will feel? They want to know the answers, right? They want to know the answers. So you provide the need. After this is the need and satisfaction. Okay, can you continue, please?
Okay, so since there's no one. Throughout the city, students and other tenants are being victimized by unresponsive and unethical landlords. Just last year, more than 200 complaints were filed with the city housing department, but no action has been taken against the landlords.
Okay.
Satisfaction. These problems could be solved by passing a strong tenants' right bill that defines the rights of tenants, specifies the obligations of landlords, and imposes strict penalties for violators. Okay.
So you see, you are talking about the apartment was not taken care properly. Then the problem is what the problem? The students, the city students, and other tenants are being victimized by unresponsive landlords. All right. So do you think you can associate this in Sabah as well, or in wherever you are living? Anybody living in apartments in Sabah? Like UA apartment. Do you know anybody? Do you think they are happy there, UA apartment?
No, sir. No water. Cannot shower.
So that will be one thing that you can talk about, right? UA apartment. How do you solve this problem? So the strong tenants right bill that defines the right of tenants specifies obligations of landlords, imposes strict penalties for violators. So you can propose this, right? Something to do with the law to take action against those people, the landlord of the apartment, if the developer as well, take actions against them, right? They have the right to do it, right? They have to fulfill. So what happened? What happened is you can visualize and also ask the audience to act out. Okay, let's see what is the visualization will be. Can I have lady, please? Izwana, can you read, please? Izwana, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Can you read? Can you read? Continue.
Give me a second, sir.
More than 1 second already now.
Sorry. My friend here, so the mic. Visualization. Such bill have worked in a number of college communities across the nation. If one were passed here, you would no longer have to worry about substandard condition in your apartment. Your landlord could not violate the terms of your lease or steal your security deposit. Action. A tenant's right bill has been proposed to the city council. You can get it passed by signing the petition. I will pass around after my speech. I also urge you to circulate petition among your friends and to support the bill when it is debate in the city council next week. If we all work together, we can get this bill through the council.
Okay. Thank you very much. So you can see that this kind of speeches, so this is something that based on policy, something that is not right and you want to change to make it better. And you see at the end, the action is you signing a petition. So we're going to have this program of signing petition and send this petition to the state government for them to take action. So if you are interested, please sign. Okay, since you're all online, maybe say you use that. There is a platform called change.org, change.org. That's where they sign petitions. So maybe you can use that to ask your audience to join and support this idea of yours. Okay, so any questions about this speech now that you're going to do?